Alright guys, welcome to the 11th episode of the Bauer Hour. On this episode, I brought on comedian Jared Freid. You actually may have heard of him as the host of TFM Podcast or seen him on MTV's Failology. This guy he's hilarious. He actually put out a few columns. He doesn't write blogs, he's got columns. So he put out a column, it was titled, "Your New Boyfriend Means Less Instagram Likes." So he just has such a hilarious way to look at pop culture and brings this raw honesty to it, which is just so entertaining and hilarious. So we had an awesome chat about his climb into being a comedian, as well as some of the bro shit that he loves to talk about. So if you aren't familiar with TFM or TFM Podcast, Jared will essentially play this self-help dude who answers questions for these college bros that have, it's just so hilarious, and he gives such good answers. So we did some of that in the second half, but otherwise enjoy the first 30 minutes, which Jared presents a monologue about how he climbed into being a comedian. Let's get it going.
Kind of what your podcast is, right? Just done.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Do you know what?
Let's start it up.
I'll give you the introduction, then let's get this rolling. All right, guys. Welcome to the 11th episode of the Bauer Hour. I have an awesome guest on the show today. He's a comedian, host of the TFM Podcast, and according to his Twitter, he is the inventor of the "You Up" text. Jared Freid, welcome aboard, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Dude, it's been fun, man. Thank you for making it out. It's tough to get in hold of you celebrities, so I appreciate it.
I'm doing this from my parents' house, right?
I was going to say, is that your house? Damn, dude.
No, it's my parents' house. I'm in the basement. I got a mini fridge.
Dude, yeah, but hey, that flat screen looks nice.
If I'm celebrity, then this sucks. I got into the wrong fucking thing. So.
Shit, that's funny, dude. But yeah, okay, so we were actually just talking about that. So for those listeners that aren't familiar with Jared, he is affiliated with TFM, more or less, also stand-up comedian. So what do you want to dive into, man? Let's talk about you a little bit.
What do we talk about here? Just like how I got into it?
Dude, I have a lot of questions for you, actually. So I kind of want to know your background. So let's go ahead and start with that. So, Penn State grad, correct?
Yeah, I went to Penn State. I'm from Boston. I'm from outside of Boston, a town called Needham. That's where I am now because I'm doing shows at Laugh Boston. I'm opening for Josh Wolf. He was on like Chelsea lately.
Oh man,
he's awesome, dude. Big Poppy came Thursday night. He knows everybody. And then last night, Kevin Youkilis came.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
He was hanging in the back with us like the whole night. I got a picture with him.
That's funny. What's he like?
Uke was great. The nicest. Was totally cool. He was like telling stories for days, like the guy, just like a guy, like a total.
Yeah, dude, he's real, man. That's kind of real.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like, listen, I used to, I'm sitting there watching on TV chanting Uke, and I'm just.
And then he's just there in front of you. He was on the gram right now, probably, isn't he?
He's sitting there comparing baseball to comedy, and I'm sitting there being like, yeah, you're right, as I'm like coming in my pants. So it was insane.
That's funny, dude.
So yeah,
that's cool, man.
I went to Penn State because I just wanted to go to a big football school. Like that was the only thing I thought about, which seems stupid now. I never even thought about school or anything. There was actually an Onion article that was it was like it's really funny. It's like Penn State or high school kid decides to throw away months of research after a weekend at Penn State.
Oh, God.
So it's kind of me, and that I just I wanted to go to a fun experience, and you got to go to college, and I just think it was it's kind of like going to a shitty restaurant for the kooky waiter.
It's for the experience, man. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, State
Where'd
College
you go to
is
school?
a fun little place. I went to Miami, Ohio.
So I was in Beta Theta Pi, and that started there. That's the only reason I knew Miami of Ohio.
That's funny, man. I actually had a bid with Beta for a minute, so I rushed as a sophomore, but then ended up following through with that. But yeah, man, good chapter. So
yeah, I mean, I Miami of Ohio, I know is a fun school, and like all those, like I think any school that you have to like, and this isn't to hate on like a southern sunny, like a not southern because Alabama, I'm saying like if you're at a school that's near the beach, you don't really have to.
It's too easy.
You don't have to try to have fun.
Exactly. It's just made for you. I mean, I'm sure with.
Yeah, the water park is outside. So, I like any school where you're sitting there on a Saturday and it's snowed in and you're like, we got to get creative for chicks to get naked.
Dude, that's the best part about it. I mean, we had to make our fun so much. I mean, Oxford, I don't know if you've been, but it's pretty much a square mile. And I mean, it's just surrounded by cornfields. So it's just, there's not that much to do there, but that's when like the ingenuity really takes
I
place.
always loved schools like that. I always thought that like, your friendships were a lot stronger. Like it just was, if you had an airport within like screaming distance of your school,
Too much.
You didn't even care about your buddies.
Exactly.
You get on a flight and hop
You
out
have
to
an
your
out,
buddy
dude.
from high school.
Yeah, dude, it just dropped in this box, and that it's kind of a social experiment, man.
Totally.
I mean, that's sort of what it is. So, good. So, Penn State grad. What was the next step? Because you worked a corporate job, correct?
So I graduated from Penn State. I never really had like a passion, and
Right.
I think that's scary for a lot of people in college, and it was scary for me. I never really thought about. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go work,
Right.
like I never really thought, and like I never really thought. I felt like I was a guy who worked hard, but I didn't really work hard ever. I felt like I was someone who could speak to people, and I thought, like I was good at talking to people, but I was like, I don't know what that does for me, but it's got to be better than the people who can't talk to people.
Right.
And then I just was like, I want to move to New York. Like I want to be where other young people are. And, that was it's kind of like Penn State. Like I went to Penn State because, and I'm just thinking about it now. I never really thought about this, but I went to Penn State because like fun people, fun time. And I was like, New York,
Right.
fun people, fun time. So I started
Good.
looking for a job, and that was like first reality check. I was like, man, nobody wants my C average.
When did you graduate, actually? Is this
07. I graduated 07, and then
Okay.
I went to New York. I got a job selling life insurance and annuities. Like in that you have to get all the licenses. So I came home
Right.
first. I got all the license. Oh, I spent a summer. That summer after college ended, I went to the Jersey Shore, but like Southern Jersey Shore. So like the Jersey Shore that everyone knows about is like the Snooki one.
Right.
But then there's like Philly Jersey Shore, and that's where the Penn State guys go. And that's
Nice.
like Sea Isle City, and we had a house in Avalon with all my buddies. And I remember when you have college coming up in the fall, you're like, okay, I got college. Whatever happens here, this dumpster fire is going to burn out, and then I'll go to college.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Good, I'll get an A on my first test, and I'll be happy again.
Right.
When you graduate, and you have that, and I remember I woke up one morning, and I was in this beach house, and it was like a Wednesday, and I was all fucked up. I didn't have a job there.
Right.
And I needed to take these tests, and I didn't even know if I wanted the job I had. And I was like, I got to get the fuck out. And I looked at my best friend who was on the couch, and I looked at him, and I go, I am leaving. And I just left. And I left for the whole summer, and I spent the rest of the summer studying for those tests.
Right.
And I got those, basically you get these licenses to sell annuities and life insurance and all that stuff. And then you go to this job, and it was a bullpen. Like I was cold calling, and I don't, not enjoy is the wrong word. I was, I was happy to be doing something. Like I think everyone just wants to be moving. You just want to be walking. And I think like cold calling, and I was making appointments, and I was going and I was learning about it, and I'm going out and meeting with people, with like older people at the office, and I became friends with some of the older guys. And like in that job, if you've ever worked it or if you know anyone, a lot of people fall in and out of that. You don't even need a college degree to go sell life insurance.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can just go and be like, take the tests and learn that. And and this is 2007 is when the financial collapse happened.
Right, it's a tough time to find a job too.
So you had all these people that were like, it was a really depressing time to try and go into it when it wasn't like, and this was like commission, you get a little bit like a base, but like it was commission too. So you're meeting with people who are like 40 years old with like your older guy, and the older guy's like taking them through the meeting. And these 40-year-olds are like not sure if they're going to have their job tomorrow.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Man.
And I remember I cold called UBS once, and I remember I picked up the phone. I go, hey, this is Jared calling for whatever. And they go, why are you calling here? I go, I'm looking to do financial planning for you, people at your office. And the one woman goes, this whole floor is being fired. And I'm like, oh my God. Like right now, all those movies that are coming out about it, I have very different memories.
From Big Short?
Big Short, I have to go see it. But like, I remember when Lehman Brothers, when I was walking into work, and I remember Lehman Brothers had my office was right across the street from Lehman Brothers, and I remember all the cameras being outside and people walking out with their boxes from their desk.
Yeah, damn.
Like it was a scene out of a movie. It was great.
Yeah, exactly.
And
they covered that in The Big Short too. I mean, that is scary to be a part of.
I got to go see it. I mean, I was so naive. Like I just didn't get the importance of it all. You were just hearing about it, and and in my position, I'm trying to like just deflect rebuttals.
Right.
You know, like I'm trying to say, you don't have any money left. Let's talk about making more money. And I'm an idiot. I'm 22. What do I know?
I know.
And so I'm doing that, and it gets better, like just because the economy got better. For us, there were different products you could sell that would that it's all about fear. You know, the investment world's all about fear, and being close to it, you're just like, Johnny construction company who wants to put away in his 401k has no idea.
Right.
He has no control, no idea, and that's scary. And you kind of and I write about this a lot when I write columns on TFM, and sometimes they're not exactly the happiest. They're more realistic, and I just write about no one, and a lot of it comes down to no one gives a fuck about you. No one's there to help you. I mean, people that you hear all the time, it's all about who you know.
Right.
Yeah, but they have to know that you'll help them. And if you offer nothing, whether it be a contact or a solution, or even the ability to go and hustle, then you are nothing for them. So it's kind of like a learn fast type of thing, because I was, I think I became cynical of it all because I was there doing commission work.
Yeah.
And if you go into a job where it's okay,
that's sink or swim, man. I mean, you're making your own food.
Exactly. And it's if you go in where it's I got my first job, 50,000 working in corporate at Best Buy, which that's a good job. That's maybe a different surrounding than 20 guys around you making the same call as you.
Right.
So, and listen, there were people there that loved it and were good at it, and it's their life, and I have no problem with that. There's a seat, there's a butt for every seat. I have no problem with someone loving that job. I just knew it wasn't for me.
Right. So it sounds it sounds easy to quit from your perspective. I mean, this wasn't what you're interested in, or wasn't what your life really wanted to be mounted to. Right.
Everything is easy to quit. This, for me, it wasn't I was leaving and it was oh my God, I'm leaving this pot of money behind. It wasn't like that at all. It was more I knew that my dad was always he was very supportive, but he was also don't leave your job until you have your next job.
Right.
And what I ended up doing is leaving my job when I knew what I wanted. And my parents were very supportive, but I knew the best part of my day as I moved up at that company and was doing better and better, the best part of my day was writing a funny email to friends. And I was and when I talked to my dad in the morning, we didn't talk about finance. We talked about the shows from last night, TV shows, what happened on The Office. That's what we were talking about. And I'm there's something not connecting here. Why everything I care about is in that world. So how do I do that forever is kind of what I was thinking. And I just remember I told I was just and one day I started as a hobby, just thinking about it and writing stuff down. And one day I was okay, I'm leaving. And
Interesting. Good, man. Good for you.
I remember my
doing
boss,
what you're doing to be happy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was in a good situation. I'm lucky, I had savings, and to me, it was starting my own business. And I know a lot of comedians don't think this way, but I was I am going, it's not if I'll do comedy. I'm doing comedy. Right. I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. If I'm writing greeting cards 30 years down the road, that's just what happened. And at least I'm writing something that people enjoy.
Right.
And I'm getting that muscle flex. So that's always been my attitude. I remember I left my job and my boss, I went to him and he was telling me, he goes, and no one at work thought I was funny. No one was pushing me. And I think that's a lot of people think like, oh, everyone told you to do it. All my friends tell me to do it. No, that's not. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna ask actually. So you weren't the funny guy of the group. You're just you never considered yourself like that, or?
It sounds so cocky.
Right. Yeah.
My friends in high school were all funny people. So my friends, like my one buddy from high school that doesn't do comedy, he's the funniest guy I know. Like my buddies in high school were funny guys, and I think comedy is getting the joke. I don't think it's making the joke all the time. So I think in college, so in my fraternity, my best friend and I would just do bits all day long. Like that's all we did. I remember like I told this story a million times, but like when I bring a pledge in, I tell him 3 things in the room are going to change. If you can get all 3, you're free to go. If you miss one, you have to do push-ups. So he would leave. He'd look around the room, then he'd leave. He'd come back. The TV would be turned. The candle will be moved, and then I'd be completely naked. So like anytime we had a fraternity event, I would fuck around. Like I was always doing bits. And not until now do I realize that. So like my best friend and I, that's all we did was like write emails. We did Brother of the Week. We used to do a Brother of the Week where we would post this huge long write-up like I do, kind of like the columns on Total Frat Move about the brother and why he was the Brother of the Week. And then we had a room called 13 that was the big party room in the house, and we turned our room into 6A to try and compete with 13. We were always doing gimmicks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I miss about college so much is just the amount of bullshit you can pull.
You live in a world of wherever you're living is just a habitat of debauchery. So, and you lose that the minute you graduate. It's just you and your roommate, and
it's a little too serious now.
Trying to recreate that. So, I was funny at work. I just wasn't funny. I was miserable. I just think I was like thinking all the time. I was trying to think, what's my next move, and I decided to leave my job. I remember my boss, he's like, Jared, you want to leave? Like, you want to do comedy? I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a comedian. And he goes, my brother does comedy stuff. And he was like, why don't you work here and do it? And I was like, and I said, I appreciate the offer, but I need to dive in head first. Like I needed to like cut the belay system. And
so this was the first step after your corporate job was just up in comedy. So this is stand-up comedy and stuff like that?
So my thing was I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, I'm going to do everything. And I think, if you're someone with a dream or someone that's pursuing something, you have to be so open-minded. You can't say no to anything. You can't say, well, I don't want that kind of that thing.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose. I mean, if you're going to go full immersion.
At all. I ended up reaching out to a comedian who's a friend of mine now, and just asking for personal advice. And I went to his place in Brooklyn. He's done a half-hour special on Comedy Central. Him and I had become friends, but at first I was like, hey, I just need to pick your brain.
Right.
I believe in I'm thinking of a word. This makes me sound stupid. It sounds like I really believe in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe in mentors. I do, even if someone doesn't offer to be your mentor, like I reached out to him. I was like, you're my mentor. I was like, you're going to show me. I need you to tell me about everything about stand-up. And I said, just don't lie to me. Don't, you need, and people will lie to you. People will blow smoke up your ass. I go, just tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing. Tell me all the bullshit. And he helped me a lot. He gave me a lot of good advice that I still give out today, secondhand from him. It all helped.
What kind of things shocked you from what he said?
Nothing shocked me. I think if you really want to do comedy, you understand that it's a long game. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Nobody blows up. Everyone that you think blew up had 10 years of hard work behind it.
That's very true.
So, I remember I was on an MTV show called True or Failosophy. And I was on the show, and I remember the first thing people ask you, how'd you get that? As if I applied.
Right.
No, it was this small thing that was this small thing that turned into this small thing that became that small thing that became this huge thing. It's 30 things back that you'd have to there's an inspirational quote. You can't connect the lines, or something like that. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only do it looking back. So you know, how'd I get that? And I've said that to millions of people. Someday, if you're working hard enough, something's going to happen for you, and someone's going to say, how'd you get it? And it's an unanswerable question, you know, usually.
I think the universe has a way of paying everyone back. I mean, if you're putting in hustle and hard work like that, ultimately something's going to come out of that.
Totally,
you know?
but you can't be delusional. You know,
Exactly.
You keep checkpoints on yourself, and part of the delusion is people being like, well, I only do stand up. So this is kind of how I got to Total Frat Move, because I was like, I want to do stand up because I just think that would be fun, and I think I'd be good at it. I'm good at speaking to groups of people. Let's try it. But then I went and took improv class at a place called Chicago City Limits. I took 3 levels of improv class. I just paid for it. I was like, let's just learn this muscle. Then I took sketch class at Upright Citizen Brigade. UCB has become very famous now. People walk in there thinking that they sign up there for the class. Their next stop is SNL. No. I went there to learn. You know, I want to just see how to do it. So I did that. And then I also wanted to have a weekly column because I love Bill Simmons. So I'm a huge Bill Simmons fan. And I love that I knew when I was in my fraternity, I could wake up hungover on a Friday morning, and I'd always have something of Bill Simmons to read. So I wanted to emulate that. And I reached out. So when you start something, I just started reaching out to people looking for advice. I think that's the best advice I can give is when you email somebody and you want to start something, you say your email should always be asking for advice because people love talking about themselves. So I would ask people for advice, and this one guy was like, "Oh, I have a buddy who owns Weekly World News, which became famous in the '80s because it used to be on supermarket tabloids shelves, and it was fake news stories about like bats and like it was sci-fi news stories." And they were starting their online platform, and I was like, okay, cool, it's somewhere to write. I didn't want to start my own blog because right around when I left my job, it was like every girl had a blog about food.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was gonna say, I love that you call it columns, by the way.
Yeah.
Rather than a blog. I mean, dudes have columns. Not sure if dudes have blogs.
Yeah,
but...
I think it's a piece. You know, to me, like I am giving a piece to a website, and that's I never wanted to start like Jared Freid. You know, check out .blogspot. Like it just seemed like that was over. And I also, to me, I was like, you know, Bill Burr has this great quote. I've quoted a million people. I hate people who quote.
No, that's awesome, man.
Bill Burr said on Conan, he was like, I don't want my own TV show. I just want to be on someone else's boat. You know, you don't want to pay for the boat. You want to bring the beers. True. So I have kind of been using that model even before he said that. When he said that, I was like, that's kind of what I've been doing. So I was like, Weekly World News has a following. So I will write a weekly piece. I don't have to be responsible for putting it up. I can give it to an editor. They can promote it. It's not my responsibility, and I can get fans from them. I'm trying to pull.
Yeah, you're crowdsourcing.
Exactly. So
yeah, I mean that's brilliant.
So I wrote the column. The first column I wrote was called "Dude Dating with JTrain," and I used to take questions from girls on dating because I would always be asked questions. I don't know why every girlfriend of mine has always come to me. I think it's because I look like a guy they have dated. So I think it's like, you know, like I'm not too good looking. I'm not too ugly. Like and I've also a
strong medium, if you will, right?
What's that?
Is that a strong medium?
I'm a strong medium as a person. Yes. And I think I just was going to give them honest perspective from the guy's point of view. So much guy dating advice is like a good-looking dude, and he's like, just go for what you need. And it's like, shut up, dude. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to fuck, okay? and I know all the fuck signals. So I've been, you know, I started writing the column. I was writing the questions myself and answering myself because no one cared about me. So then what happens with all these relationships is they start to crumble. Okay. Weekly World News gets tired of me. It's not really what they do. I find a new website called the Fan Hub, and it's my buddy from camp, his older brother. I went to camp with him. His older brother started a website. CBS was affiliated with it, kind of. So it was kind of about sports, and I didn't really like sports. I love sports, but writing about it every week wasn't as interesting as doing whatever I wanted.
Right.
And then I made this video. I had a press pass to go to the comic book convention, Comic-Con.
Right.
So I've been wanting to do videos. And this is kind of like, you know, you take what you want from this. But my buddy from college, my buddy Thunder Dan, he's like my buddy. Oh, he went to Miami, Ohio.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, he went to Ohio U. Never mind. Ohio, same.
It's a worse version of Miami, yeah.
So he went to Ohio U. He goes, my buddy from high school has been making videos his whole life. He works in production. I feel like you guys should meet. Again, I was like, yes, I want to meet everybody. So I went and met him. We hit it off right away. And we looked at each other and we're like, listen, I was like, if you have an idea, bring it to me. If I have an idea, I'll bring it to you. Let's do funny shit together. And that's what it was. So I had these Comic-Con passes because I wrote for this other thing called the Comic View, which was a comedian's magazine. So I had a column in that called like, it was like the perspective of a new comic. And they gave me passes. They're like, can you write about the Comic-Con for us? And I was like, sure. And I had these passes, but I was like, what am I going to fucking write about? I don't want to go to Comic-Con. And then I was like, oh, you know what we should do? We should make a video called Frat Dude Goes To, because I like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
Right.
So I was like, let's do a Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, except I'm Triumph acting like a frat guy. So I went and I interviewed all these nerds at Comic-Con, and we made this funny video, me and him. And we released it, and Bro Bible posted it, and they called me. Bro Bible was like, come in, talk to us. And Bro Bible now is owned by Woven Media, but before it was like kind of like Total Frat Movie. It was like a guy who owned it,
right?
You know, so like it was this guy Doug, who's the best total guy, total dude. He started Bro Bible by going to what's the school? What are the Spiders? Their mascot's the Spiders.
Oh, I have no idea. So it's a single dude from Virginia.
Well, he went to this college in Virginia. He started Bro Bible by going to a bunch of frat party. Richmond. He went to Richmond.
Oh, God. Okay.
He started it by going around, hoofing around, door to door, promoting this. I kind of like saw eye to eye with him. I was like, oh, you know, we got something. You know, this guy's hustling. I want to hustle. You know, so he is now more on the production side of things.
Interesting. Okay.
And because Bro Bible got bought out, so he got bought out of that. But when I went and met with him, he was like, we want to make more frat dude videos. So I was like, great. So he was like, we'll send you to any event, all these events you want, and we'll pay for the videos. And again, I'm not being paid. I am like, yes, this is a way to get my brand out there. I'm constantly just looking for people that would like what I do. And I think that's, you know, getting in front of the people that are like-minded and have the same sensibilities. Like that's a lot of the battle these days because everything is so niched. So, especially in comedy. So, and I'm like, Bro Bible fits me perfectly. This is all on brand. And I told him at that meeting, I go, I also want to bring my column to you. So I was like, okay, and he goes, yeah, do a column. So I'm doing the Thursday column that I've been doing for Weekly World News that I did for the Fan Hub. I bring it to them. There is kind of where I start to learn about the blogger world, and that with these websites, you just kind of you have to understand, like, you are going to be known by the brands that you match up with. So like just like you said, it's like crowdsourcing, and it is, I think it's been smart for me because I've dealt, my payment a lot of times has been in retweets and in Instagram posts. And like, that's what I want. I want to get my shit out to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
I want big crowds at my shows. So how does that happen? That happens by people holding on to you and wanting to see stuff from you every week. And I'm putting out stuff every Thursday. So Bro Bible was like, okay, I want this many retweets. I want this many, you know, whatever. And that gets annoying if you're working at Bro Bible because, and at any site, it's not just Bro, you know, it's annoying to them because they have to write about things that they have to write about. Their boss is telling them. I'm not being paid, so I can write about anything I want and get to be funny and get to do whatever. And I'm getting my personal brand, you know. So like a lot of these people, some of them might want to do comedy too. I don't know. But that can get in the way. There's a lot of pride fests, and you're dealing with personalities, you know. And so we're doing that, and I was kind of getting the vibe that, like, I did it for like a year and a half, and they're making these videos, and the videos are doing well. They're getting hits. For me, they're doing well. I don't know about but and then Total Frat Move started posting the Frat Dude videos. And I was like, what's this site? Here's another place. And the reason I like Total Frat Move is it's what I'm looking for. It's a community.
Right.
People respond to your articles. Bro Bible, if you go to the comments section, there's no comments. So this was like a living, breathing community.
Right.
And I was going on a bachelor party to Austin, and I'm like, I had an email address for one of the guys at Total Frat Move, one of the head guys, who had been responding, because sometimes people don't respond. I email, when I put out a video, I email Barstool, Total Frat Move, Bro Bible. Like, people think I work for these. I don't. Like, I am here to be funny for money at some point, and I am here to give out material. I want people to read my stuff. I don't, sometimes it's stuff on the internet because you saw it with Fat Jew. Fat Jew is stealing shit, putting it on his name, and then saying, oh, I forgot to put the name. So nobody walks away from a Fat Jewish post and says, so-and-so is funny. They say Fat Jew is funny. Then he wants to say he's a curator. NBC is a curator. No one says NBC is funny. People say Seinfeld is funny.
Right.
So that's kind of the position I'm in, where yes, they promote my name and stuff. These sites do promote my name. The nature of the internet is I see it on Total Frat Move, so that's a Total Frat Move article. No, these are Jared Freid articles.
Interesting.
So and that's just something I've learned over time, is that's just, you can't fight that. You only hope that these smart people, that it prevails. So like, that's why those list articles, so many people that are in high college and graduated want some attention. They'll make a list article, but they don't get anything out of that. Nobody follows the guy who wrote the list article unless it's like it has to be fucking good.
Right.
But most people will be like, this is so me, and not care. Total Frat Move gets me.
Right.
And it's not. So I go to Austin on this bachelor party. We get to the bachelor party. I send an email to the Total Frat Move guys being like, hey, you posted my videos in the past. I'm coming down to Austin. I'd love to meet with you. They're like, okay. It's out of the blue. They said, also, I have a column that I'd love for you guys to post this Thursday. Would you do it? They're like, well, if it's good, I go, it'll be fine. Will you do it? And they agreed. And so they posted the article. And I get there that day, then they're like, it's getting a good response because it's, I try to put work into it. I think they're well written and have a point usually. And I meet with, Ryan and Madison, and they're like, whoa, frat dude's here. Like, to them, I'm just some guy that's doing these videos.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, so we have a meeting, and I explain to them what I want. I want their followers. They have 1 million Twitter followers. If I can get a
fraction of that,
of them, I'm well on my way as a comedian, not just a Right. So my whole thing was, I said to them, I want to write a column for you once a week. If you guys will let me, I just want to know that it'll get posted every week. If it posts, I want, we agreed to a certain amount of retweets, certain amount of posts, and that's our agreement.
So when you're actually going on looking for retweets, so you have a mandatory of whatever 20, 45 number. You're looking for a specific number when you post something like this?
I can't ask for like 20 from Total Frat Move. They have their own agenda, and they have marketing people that tell them, to do so many tweets a month or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm just saying that if I write a column for you, I want my account promoted.
Oh, got you. Okay.
By your website. So on Facebook, I want one post on Facebook. And, this is a negotiation. I'm not saying I went there and was like, I want this, this, and that. We agreed. I'm giving them material. You have to understand, like, you need content. So if you have someone that's writing quality content for once a week and is saying he doesn't want money, he wants this, you can come to an agreement.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I mean, you don't do things for free anymore. So.
No, and it's also like, you have to, and I also said to them that day, I want to start a podcast for you. I want to host your podcast. And the way I remember it, and I've never talked to them about that. I've never told them the story, but I was like, they were like, what do you mean a podcast? Like, what's it? And I'm like, okay, great. I'll host it. You guys promote it. Again, and this isn't to say I love Total Frat Move's product. I love their T-shirts. I love everything they do. I love the guys there. I think they're all great. But for me, it wasn't that I just knew that their audience was a lot like me. The audience for that was, good guys, like having fun, had good friends, ambitious, and they were represented. When I was 18, I was the same way as an 18-year-old total frat move reader and listener. When I was 22, I was the same way. When I was 25, I was the same way, and down the line. I was that guy at every age that followed this site. So for me as a comedian, I'm looking for people that would be like me, So I knew that would be a good audience for me. So I said, let's do the podcast. They're like, well, hold your horses. They don't even know me from anything. They've only posted one article. So I wrote the article for a few more months, and then I kept pushing for the podcast.
Right.
And it got to a point, Stand Up New York is the club in New York City that I get up. They were the first comedy club that gave me an opportunity to get on stage, which is amazing. It's very tough to find stage time. It's tough, especially for a new comic breaking in. Once you get that first club, then they all kind of take a little bit more notice. So
that
was the first club that got me on stage. And they're like, we're opening a podcast studio upstairs. And I go, hold it. I got it. And they were going to do podcasts with established comedians. I said to them, I have a website in the South that will promote it. You guys produce it. I'll host it. Went to Total Frat Move. They're like, great. They've been nothing but supportive. They've been amazing. We started the show, and then we started the show, and it was always going to be me and a guest, and I bring on my fraternity brothers sometimes, and the guys at Total Freid have been nothing but amazing, because usually you have someone give you notes. They gave me a few. They're involve more of the site, so we did the news at the end. Okay, so and they've been cool, and I get the guests most of the time. Sometimes Tucker Max was Total Freid, they helped out. But most of the time, these are friends of mine that have now, and I'm in it. I'm a comedian. The podcast is called TFM Podcast, but, I feel it's very much me, because I love giving advice. I love funny questions. When we did the mailbag, and we used to do it at the end, and I was getting so many emails, and the emails were so funny, and I had perspective on a lot of them, because I'd been there before. I feel like I'm their older brother sometimes, or older sibling. And I was like, this is the show. And comedians and a lot of my friends have gotten very famous. So now we have this, this stacked list of former guests. Michael Che's he's on SNL. He's been on the Total Frat Move podcast. It's insane. We just had on Leonard Oots. He's going to be on Conan on the 21st. We just had, Anthony DeVito comes on all the time. He's going to be on Adam Devine's house party. We had Sal from Impractical Jokers.
I saw that one.
Yeah, and Lisa Ann, the porn star. And Lisa Ann and I are going to do a stand-up show together at Stand Up New York every Thursday.
That's funny. Dude, I've been meaning to ask, what is she like in person?
Great. Professional. Really? I told her, we talked about it a lot on the podcast, and I went to the AVN Awards with Bro Bible. I did a Frat Dude video. If you go Google Frat Dude goes to AVN, there's 3 videos. They're the most professional people. They're there to work. Your whack-off is their work.
I mean, they're business ladies at the end of the day.
The successful ones?
Actually, yeah, they're good.
Sharp.
So I've seen this few pictures floating around on the internet. So they compare, I don't know, some sort of nomination show with the was it AVN adult AVN. So, and it is the AVN Awards. These ladies are so much more conservative dressed than they are at these other shows, which is really interesting.
The Lisa Ann was great, but you know what? She's there to entertain.
That's true.
She gets it. There's some comedians that should learn that too. There's some people that come on the show and they're like, "Oh, these emails they're douches," and I'm like, "Get with it."
Yeah, it's funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, sing, dance, and dust. I brought you on. This is an opportunity. We have, the month of January, we had over 80,000 listens.
Jesus.
That's insane.
That is insane.
And I'm nobody. So, it's an amazing thing what's happening. I'm super excited about the future of it.
Right.
So, kind of what you're saying, there's people in New York, when I do a show, they'll be like, "You've seen him on Bro Bible." They'll still bring up Bro Bible. So I will be around doing this forever. And, the next thing that I'm on will be the thing I'm known for too. So I'm happy, but I love everyone that like listens and like, because they all, anytime they're the most respectful people, they come to shows, they're like appreciative, the guys that come and the girls that come that listen to the podcast, especially, I'd be friends with them. It's insane. Like you listen to the podcast, you found me through that, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
like, talking to you was easy, even though I've talked 90% of the time.
No, it's all right, man. You're the more interesting guy right now.
I can't shut the fuck up, so.
Well, no, I mean, I think the product you put out, I mean, it attracts a certain kind of folk. I mean,
but I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I have a taste for what I'm doing. So, I listen to the Tony Kornheiser podcast, a lot of the setup of the TFM podcast is because of listening to that. His is a 40-minute show, 2 40-minute segments, and they do a mailbag, and I always thought the mailbag was funny. I listen to Adam Carolla. A lot of the stuff, I think he's one of the funniest comics alive. He speaks in bits, which is the hardest thing to do in the world. So, and I love him, and I listen to, and there's, what I noticed with podcasts, and when I started this one, and I think this is advice for life, look around you. What is everyone else doing? Don't do what they're doing. Everyone was starting a podcast, okay? And I knew I'd be better at podcasting than the next Jim, Joe, and John. So I knew that. But everyone that was starting a podcast, it was a comedian talking about doing comedy. Like we were all going into a coal mine or some shit. And it's not interesting. It's interesting for Mark Maron to talk about because he has a lot of famous friends and he was the first guy to do it. It's interesting to Pete Holmes to do because now he's the second one doing it and he's a fun personality. He has his own audience and has his own way of interviewing. But it isn't interesting for Jared Freid to do it. So how do I figure out a way to make mine? And believe me, it didn't start right off the bat. I'm no genius. It took time and effort and total frat moves cooperation to like stick with it. Right. And now I think we have a cool thing going on when every comic that comes on, they leave because we do a lot of podcasts. We're on a lot of podcasts and they drag out and they're not fun or not, whatever it is. And they look at me and they're like, that was fucking fun. That was a fun time because they know it's there's no heavy lifting. Right. So what did you do today? What? So.
Good for you, man. Cool. Well, I actually have a few questions for you. So you've kind of become the self-help connoisseur for a lot of the bros out there. So
someone called the dude Dr. Phil. So.
I was actually going to compare it to Oprah, so that's kind of funny. But I actually asked some of my friends, and they're familiar with the show as well. I've been talking about TFM Podcast for a while. So the first one I have for you, Jared, at what annual salary is it unacceptable to drink natural ice?
Natty Ice?
Yeah. 5.9, man.
Dude,
5.9%.
We used to drink it. It would be funny. You know what's funny about Natty Ice is that you'd be at a party at college and, Natty Lights. We considered Natty Light like a penny. Like you'd leave it on the ground. So we'd go to tailgates. I was the tailgate czar for my fraternity. I've said that a million times on the podcast.
Right.
I love that era of my life. But we would stand across like 50 yards, not 100. That's insane. We'd stand like 30 yards away from each other, and someone across the tailgate would go, fresh beer toss, and someone would referee toss a Natty Light to you from like 20 yards away, and you try and catch it one-handed, and that was like our game. And then if you missed it, they'd be like, do it again. Like we didn't even care about the Natty Light. We just leave it in the mud, and then like by the end of the day, you'd run out of beers. Be like, "Where'd that muddy Natty Light go?"
Yeah, let me polish it off.
Yeah, you're just like running it off, and then but it was funny at parties when someone would come out with the 12-pack of Natty Ice, because then it was as if someone brought a gun to a knife party. Whoa!
It's the heavy artillery, man.
What?
It's the heavy artillery.
It was like somebody had a mission that night. Whoa, Natty Ice! It's the only place in the world where you're like impressed by Natty Ice. I'll say this: Natty Ice is about a mentality, not a job, not your job. It's a mentality. So if you're going out, if you're doing a daytime drink with an event, that's always acceptable. I don't care
Right.
how old you are. I don't care how much you make. That's a fun day. But if you're at home sipping on something and you're sipping on that, you could be doing better.
That's true. That is very true. I don't know. I mean, you're 31 now, right? I mean, do you still drink cheap beers at all, or is that kind of a way of the?
I'm 30. Let's not age me.
My apologies, Jared.
No, I'm 31 in a month.
Shit, that's scary.
I will still, yeah. I mean, I drink like Pabst sometimes just because at comedy, being in comedy around New York, I go on stage every night. So I go on stage 3 times a night, every night of the week, and sometimes you'll be at these like shithole bars in Brooklyn, and it'll be like dollar Pabst, and I'm like, yeah.
Whatever, I'll drink. Dude, actually, I just moved to Milwaukee, and pretty much a block that way is the Pabst Brewery.
Really?
So,
Milwaukee's
yeah.
Great town, man.
Dude, it's an interesting place. I mean, it's interesting.
These small
I
towns
like it,
keep
but I
getting
can't.
better though, man. These small cities, like my buddy just moved to Minneapolis.
That's a great city.
Wow, fun, good, and the restaurants are getting great.
Yeah,
you can eat cheaply, like really good cheap food, like really good chefs are going to these places and opening restaurants.
I agree, and it's kind of that street cart kind of food where it's just, I mean, it takes something simple like tacos, and then they just have these gourmet tacos that are just phenomenal, for $3. I mean, this
is our generation. This is what we're doing right now.
Doing it big, man. I like it. But yeah, Milwaukee's pretty cool. I mean, Chicago is it's a lot different. I mean, it's sort of a watered down version of Chicago.
Chicago's the best city in the country.
Oh man, that's a good little place.
I like Chicago sometimes more than I like I think Chicago's on par with New York. So that's not a down on Milwaukee.
Yeah, no. What's your draw to New York? I've heard very mixed reviews from my friends.
New York, I'm there for comedy. I'm there to be a comedian.
I mean, that's probably the place for it.
That is the place that I can get on stage. I'm a stage whore, so I I write on stage. I like being on. That's where I get better. I've been to LA a couple times. You can't get up as much. If you're a real comedian, if you really want to be a comedian, you go to New York.
That's interesting. Did you ever have a show go just shitty? Did you just have
every night?
Really flop it? Oh yeah.
Everyone bombs. Even the best comedian the comedian you love, he bombs still too. He or she bombs still bombs. Everyone bombs because that's the only way to grow material. There's a lot of true. So last night I did a bit about guys caring about their looks, and it didn't go well, but I had to do it. If I don't do it, I don't know. There's a lot of backlash against what comedians say on stage, and that's just from everyone thinks they're funny. Everyone thinks they're funny. There's not one, because we associate being funny with being good looking as a male, an attraction. So no one wants to say, I just have a good personality, which is most the case.
Right.
Being funny on stage is a totally different thing. So there's a lack of respect for it because everyone says I can do what the person on stage does. When no, you have to work on it. You have to go on stage and fail for something to be a great bit. So I have bits that I've been working on for a year. I just know they're not there yet. And
just need a more refining.
But I also, as a comedian, that you're doing it, and that you're you're doing the craft when you go up with something and you're like, and it fails, and you're like, no, I believe in this topic. How do I switch it? How do I make it so it works every time? And that takes failure. So
I have 2 points there. If you've listened to, Dave Chappelle, I'm assuming, his history actually entailed a lot of bombing. I think when he decided to become a real comedian, he's talked about this on a lot of his shows. He was standing there, everyone was just booing him, and it's just the worst thing. He's just looking around. And at that point, he decided that he really wanted to do comedy.
Yeah, the failure. There's like a gift in the failure, So I think that's in anything, but. If you're not going up there, if someone tells you I kill every time, they're a liar. They're just a liar. It's just not. That's not how it works. And every set has its own goals. Right now, I have an audition next week. I have to do a 6-minute set. The front of my set for all the shows this week and next week are all that first 6 minutes is my 6 minutes. So I have a condensed down version of stuff that would be like maybe it'd be like 10 minutes of jokes that I've condensed down to the best 6. So now I'm losing 4 minutes I would have had on my 25-minute set.
Right.
So now the rest of the set is different. I care about the rest of the set, but the goal of my set was those first 6 minutes. So, you don't know what someone's doing.
Wow, that's interesting. So how do you condense that material? I mean, do you still keep the same punchlines?
You keep the punchlines. It's more. This is kind of why you work on it. Like, okay, what's the thing that's working 50% of the time? Pull that out. Let's stop saying that. It's I think Louis C.K. said that comedy is the economization of words. You want to get word. You don't want to be wordy. Obviously I'm the worst at that. I'm fucked up. But you want to get the point across in as few words as possible. So, if you're doing a bit that you love doing, maybe you hang on it for a while. And, if you're at I've been opening for Josh Wolf, his crowds are all women and great and fun. I could do one bit for 10 minutes just because they'd go along with it. But when it's an audition set, or if you
got to get to it quick. Yeah.
Quick, punchy. And like you see those sets that are on Conan, the guy, a lot of the guys that have been on the podcast, Joe List, Mark Norman, Sam Morrell, they've all done sets on late night shows. Their sets are just a taste of who they are.
Right.
So.
That's interesting, man. Well, good for you. Good for you for pursuing all that stuff. So.
Thanks, man.
Cool. All right. I have a few more questions, actually. Sure. Best theme party you've ever been to? Or most memorable theme?
This was before, you have to understand my age, I guess. This was before, like, T-shirts were easy to get made. And
yeah.
The mustache thing wasn't, like, a thing. Like, there wasn't mustaches on every girl's index finger. This would never happen. We did a thing called the Tom Selleck Mustache Bash.
Okay.
For a month, everyone in my fraternity grew a mustache. And we had the day, it was like a Saturday during the day in the spring, and it was no girls were invited. Like, this was literally a guy event, and we gave out awards for best mustaches, funniest mustache, most creative, but everyone for a month grew up mustaches, and then we just sat on the front lawn drinking pounders in our mustaches and wearing jean shorts. And that was fun because you know what? Like, it was just dudes being dudes, hanging out, just a time with your friends that you won't forget. So that was probably one of my favorite.
I'm assuming not everyone had a great mustache, or probably some shitty ones.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of guys were considered Asian after that day. Couldn't really do it.
Right, dude, that's funny. All right, next question. Actually, little story. I'm going to a bachelor party. We're doing the Indy 500.
Awesome.
I think we're bringing 16 people down to this one. We rented this house on Airbnb.
Awesome.
And it's kind of this dude mansion. So I know you get excited about bachelor parties. So what's a good way to take, just in general, a bachelor party to the next level?
So I love bachelor parties. I am very critical of bachelor parties too. I'm very critical. I won't go on some my brother's right about to hit. How old are you?
I'm 23.
So my brother's 25, and he's in he's about to be in the throes of bachelor party season. I'm kind of on the other end of it now. Most of my friends pretty hitched up. So, okay, so there's a number. This is gonna be very specific. This might not be the best. This would be good advice, but it might not be the most entertaining. Here we go. 12 is the number of people. Once it goes above, I think 16 is good. I think you're still good. Once it gets above 16, once it gets above that
number. That's a passenger van, correct?
You need a
That's 12?
12-person passenger van, 15-person van. That should be you should comfortably sit a 15-person van. Because these groups, I've been on ones where it's been like 25 people, it gets fractured. It doesn't, it does, you never hang out with the guy who's getting married. Like, it's not really like you're there with him. You're just on your own vacation.
Right.
You guys getting the house together is already great. That's the best. I would also say you need one person to schedule it. Put one person, whoever's in charge. You have a guy that's in charge, I'm sure?
Yeah.
That
the
guy,
dude's brother, so.
He needs to be over-scheduled. I planned my buddy's bachelor party, and the best thing I did, every hour, there was, let's go. It was stressful for me as the planner, but nobody, and then you could be like, okay, we're not going to do that event. You have to be a benevolent dictator when you run a bachelor party. Because there'll always be one guy who'll be like, because if you leave it up to the group, then, especially with a lot of bros, there's a lot of A personalities that are looking to get their shit across.
Right.
You need to be the dictator of this bachelor party. So those two things, and you're going to an event, which even makes it better. So the event, every bachelor party should be focused around one event. You guys are already doing that. Indy 500, that's fucking great.
Right.
To take it to the next level, you need to also have the restaurant's plan that you're going to go to at night, and then the bar you're going to go to at night. Don't leave that up, because the bachelor parties, the most time gets wasted on where are we going now?
Decision making, right?
What bar? Well, this bar sounds good. This one, no. Know the bars before you get there, and then have stuff at the place. You need to stock up the hotel room or the place, because everyone, you're 23, you want girls. Girls make the bachelor party, as little as we want to admit that.
Right.
And strippers, they will be fun every now and again, but they need to be the background to the actual party.
To the event. You don't just want it to be focused on strippers. I think you talked about it in your podcast where you had Viking hats and some sort of pizza diner that you guys rented out.
Of this place, and we got I ordered 2 strippers to wait to just give out shots. So they weren't even doing a strip show. So we had 2 strippers that were giving out shots. We had Viking helmets on. Everyone got into their underwear for some unknown reason. And then I didn't tell anybody, but I ordered a clown.
Dude, I love that story.
And all of a sudden, an hour into this, strippers are walking around. A clown walks in full clown regalia. And let me tell you, it never got more awkward than it did when he walked in. Like, it looked like a kid died at his birthday party. Like, something went horribly wrong. And we're just sitting there like, and I was so happy. And then the clown comes up to me and goes, "What do you want me to do?" And I was like, balloon animals and magic tricks. We had an agreement. And he's like, he looked at me like, what's wrong with you? So I think like the strippers were great because they were a part of that experience and they weren't the whole thing. There will always be one guy in the bachelor party that's like a little too into strippers, and that's a guy who hates his wife or can't get laid. And you got to get him out of that situation. You need to appease him while also having a good time and make it an event. You got to have planned out events. We did turtle races, planning your own betting games. Get industrious. That's my advice to any bachelor party. Don't just color in the lines. Color outside the lines.
Good, man. Good advice. Yeah, it should be fun, man. This will be my first bachelor party. So
you're going to have such a good
second time to
Indy 500, all those events are so much fun. I went to a race in Maine once, or New Hampshire. It was like, it's up. They do one up here in the summer. Yeah. You're going to have an awesome time.
It's just such a dump from what I've heard. I don't know about what happened in New Hampshire, but they start drinking at like 5 in the morning. It's just in this big field.
Dude, if I'm you, go buy everyone those earmuffs. Have matching earmuffs. Oh. That's what you should do. This would be great.
That sounds funny.
Get matching earmuffs. You could probably, how long until this happens?
This is in May sometime.
So get them printed with shit on them that have the Bachelor written on them. That's a fun gift.
That is, man. I'll have to look into that.
Throw in money for that. Everyone's going to throw in $20 to get the earmuffs that say,
exactly.
Jason sucks dick.
Yeah,
like that's great.
That's funny, man. Good advice.
There you go.
Cool, man. All right, a few more questions. Actually, this is a segment that I have.
Okay.
It's called the Bauer Hour Hot Seat, but we've kind of addressed it. I feel like I had some more extended response questions that we've been talking through, so we can go into some short answer stuff, and we'll probably cut this out here shortly. So, all right, if you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be?
A kitchen appliance. I'd be the my favorite kitchen tool is the spoon, but it's like got a little hitch on it because you can stir with it, you can try shit with it. It's multifaceted. So that spoon, I use it like throughout the time. You can move, you don't have to. My thing when I'm cooking, I want to use as little stuff as possible that I don't have to clean.
Yes, that's
all
big.
Shit.
That is huge.
So I think that spoon is a multi-use thing.
Good, man. Good answer. All right.
There's supposed to be no good answers.
All right. Well, yeah, there's some better than others, but that's a good one. All right. 2, hamster-sized horse or a horse-sized hamster?
Hamster-sized horse or horse-sized hamster. I'd be freaked out.
You'd go big.
I think about, you ever see those pictures on like Yahoo where they're like 10-foot snail? And like
I've seen that. I've also seen a 30-pound rabbit.
yeah,
And
that's
those
what
are
I'm
kind
talking
of
about.
freaky. Yeah.
These ones where they're the oversized version of small things. I
Yeah.
always think about how big of a pussy I'd look like if someone was like, oh, look at 10 feet away, there's an oversized rat. And I'd be like, I need to leave here. I need to leave
Yeah.
Earth. You know?
Some of those rats in China are cat-sized, man. I
Yeah,
mean, those are some serious
that
things.
would end my life.
You're not a rat guy?
I need big things to be smaller. That never makes me freaked out. When smaller
Like a
things
small
become
elephant or
big,
something?
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is like nothing I've ever seen. Like those spiders that are like 800 pounds. Yeah.
Those are bad, man. And then I don't know if you've seen, but they have the coconut crab. That thing's
I
terrible.
can't even think about it.
Those are bad. Anyway, that's actually a crab. It's not really a spider, but it's still got the feet and the shit like that, so it's not good. All right, man. Question 3. You're designing a mermaid consisting of one half fish, one half person. Which half is which?
Yeah, I've heard this one before. I'm going. I guess fish vagina isn't much different than actual vagina, so I go bottom half.
It's true. Hey, good man. Interesting call. Actually,
because I guess I'm not going downtown, but maybe I would just for the story.
for the caviar.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Cool. But for the caviar. Yeah, I'm going bottom half.
Bold, man. Very bold. Cavalier.
Listen, I gotta make a choice.
That's funny. All right, one last one. So we're doing. Have you heard of Friends and Fifths?
No, what's that?
Fifths and okay, so it's essentially like a case race where no, not a case race. Cuffs and cases where you bind yourself to a partner, typically males and females, with duct tape, and you finish a fifth or a case or whatever.
Oh, we call them handcuff socials.
Yeah, handcuff socials. So we're doing something similar to that tonight. We're doing a fifth of liquor. And I'm very confused as to what to pick. So I was like, oh shit, I'm talking to pretty much the frat guy himself today. So what do you recommend?
What have I done to my parents?
I know.
You got to do some Rumplemans.
Rumplemans, but the thing is, that's the sugar. We're looking at having something where you can mix it as well as shoot it. So
I get that. You want to get something that the girl isn't going to be like, you never want to get that answer from the girl where she's like, I am done. Like, where she just is like, no. You know, when you offer, like, you're like, hey, let's do shots. And that one girl you want to hook up with, she's just like,
yeah.
No, I'm out. And you're like, oh, you're not going to suck my dick. Like, like, you want,
right.
You want yeses. So, you go, this is the answer. It's, what's the coconut Malibu?
Malibu. The only thing is, I think those are only 20% alcohol.
Exactly. Here's the thing.
Kind of cheating the system there, Jared.
No, that's fine. This is the guys who hooked up the most cheated the system every fucking weekend of my fraternity. They would never get drunk. You go Malibu. She's happy. You're taking shots. You're finishing the whole thing. So you're part of the whole thing. And then you're going out. Like, you're getting a nice...
That's true. And you're not dying. It's not the end of the world.
You want to give yourself superpowers. You don't want to give yourself a disability when you go out.
Right.
So there are two people when we go out at night. There's superheroes and there's the disabled. And I that's a horrible thing to say. Listen, I'm respectful of disabled people, but you're hampered. You're either hampered by the booze or you're propped up by the booze. You want to be propped up by the booze. You want to be in, prime fuck shape. So what gets you where you're pouring the drinks for her? You want to be the man tonight. So you're pouring the drinks for her. You're mixing the drinks for everybody. You're like, hey, where are we going next when things are done? And then you look over and Johnny's puking in the toilet because he went with whiskey. You'll be happy
right.
You're 20% at that point.
Yeah, just knocking them out, man.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. I was just in a ski trip in Aspen. It was very similar to that.
Everywhere.
We had yeah, dude. I actually have this map thing back here. I'm putting pins on that map.
That's great.
Getting a lot in there. But it was this situation where we had I think it was 5 single guys and 3 girls. And in Colorado, you have all sorts of weed products and whatnot. So then my one friend kept pushing the edibles and whatnot, and it's just at no point in this entire trip I thought it was going to be edible o'clock. I mean, I just never took that because you take one of those.
Kill your body.
Yeah, and then this dude took them. I'm like, oh shit, that's a little less competition out there. So
yeah, but that's what happens. And listen, I've been the guy that passes out more times than not, and I just know The nights where I'm on fire are the nights that the guy was serving me social shots. You ever had a social shot?
I have not actually. What are in those?
Just it's like a bartender shot. So I have them a lot
gotcha.
now because I'll be in the back of a comedy club. And the bartender will be like, "You want to do a shot?" I'll be like, "Yeah." And it'll be like social. And the social will be like a little tiny shot. And it's
gotcha.
You're just doing it to do it. And listen, you'd rather have 10 thirds of a shot than 10 actual shots.
That's true. I don't outpace the race.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, all right, Jared, I'll be respectful of your time.
This is great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude, thanks. Yeah, thank you for being on here. This is insightful. So I as well am kind of looking at doing something. I'm currently working a corporate job, so I'm kind of looking at kind of doing something more of what I really want to do.
Just keep
so it's
pushing,
just hearing this story.
Keep getting
Yes,
out
man.
there and keep keep putting yourself in a position to fail and have someone say no. And that's kind
Failure's
of
great, man.
That's what it's been in.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Anyway, JTrain, all platforms.
JTrain56 on Twitter,
Yep.
also on Snapchat. Also, I'm Jared Freid on Instagram, JaredFreid. But if you search JTrain56 on Instagram, I come up. So
Interesting.
now, I couldn't get JTrain56 as my handle, so
That's a bummer.
but it is
SEO,
like
man.
my alias on Instagram. So if you search JTrain56 on everything, do it. I'd love followers and listen to the TFM podcast. Subscribe.
Yeah, and for my listeners, this show is pretty awesome. Jared's a good dude to follow on Snapchat. Entertaining, a lot of good guests. Lisa Ann. The columns are hilarious. I actually had planned on talking about that, but we can save that for another time.
Anytime, man.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and you have a good day, and you enjoy your shows tonight,
Thanks,
right?
man. Nice to talk to you.
All right, bro. All right, guys, that'll be it for the 11th episode of the Bauer Hour. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Jared is a hilarious dude. I'm so glad that he decided to be on the show with me. Please go to facebook.com/the Bauer Hour podcast. Like that page. I'm going to be pushing out all the content related to the show to that website. And then if you haven't, please go to Justin Bauer, the Bauer Hour on iTunes. Leave a comment, rating, and subscribe. Otherwise, see you guys in the next episode. Oh, man, the next episode is sweet. I brought on Shane Krangle from Margle Media. Man, it was such a good conversation. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. That'll be dropping on Wednesday. Otherwise, I will see you guys later.